Hello viewers, welcome to yet another edition of our program House of Commons, a program that is brought to you as from 12 to 1:30 p.m. every Sunday. Today's edition of our program, we are going to take a different dimension, and we will be looking at the legislature in Cameroon, if it can spur change, if Cameroon's legislature can spur change in Cameroon, and also we shall be looking at striking headlines within the week, what made news within the week. We will also be looking at Cameroon's president, his arrival into the country, and how is it going to impact on the socio-political landscape that we experience within the north and southwest region. To those of you who have been having difficulties to connect to My Media Prime, you just have to research or rescan your decoders and rescan the network, or get your cable distributor to rescan, because we upgraded the system to 4K. We moved from higher definition to 4K, which is a maximum resolution. When we talk about 4K in local parlance, it simply means that you have a maximum resolution and the best image quality so far. As it stands now, My Media Prime is the best, has the best image quality in the entire West and Central Africa when it comes to broadcast media. My name is Tah Mai Javis. This is House of Commons. We shall be right back. You're welcome back from that break, and if you are just joining us, you're watching House of Commons. To kickstart today's edition, I introduce you my guest with whom we are going to have a 1 hour 30-minute discussion. I begin by introducing to you Alex Nguepi, who is a member of Cameroon's Renaissance Movement, CRM, and he is here to represent the party. Alex Nguepi, thanks for joining us and a happy Sunday to you.
Merci aux millions de personnes qui nous suivent sur My Media Prime.
Thank you. And also in the studio we have Senior Barrister Ashu Julius, who is of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement. He's very objective and very focused in terms of seeing that Cameroons enjoy the peace that is so deserved as far as the constitution and the national integrity of the state is concerned. Barrister Ashu, you're welcome to the program. A privilege to have you, sir.
Thank you very much, Javis. The privilege is mine for being here today. Hello, Cameroon. Hello, my fellow co-panelists.
Thank you, Senior Barrister. And here also we have Mr. Ignatius, Mr. Mayor Ernest, who is a member of the civil society. Mr. Mayor Ernest, a privilege to have you and happy Sunday.
Thank you, Jarvis. It's a privilege to be here. I want to give a shout out to our Media Prime viewers, and especially the fans of this program, who are once a year gathered again to look into the issues that are plaguing the nation.
Thank you very much. We also have Mr. Ignatius, who is also a member of the civil society. Mr. Ignatius, a privilege to have you and welcome and happy Sunday.
Good afternoon, Jarvis. Every human being is born with knowledge, and then added to the knowledge we acquire in school. So we use the knowledge to make our environment comfortable to us. And I know that Cameroon is our country. If we make it good, we are going to enjoy it together. And we destroy it, we are going to suffer the negative consequences together. Once more, good afternoon, my co-panelists.
Good afternoon. These are the gentlemen with whom we are going to have a discussion, and also we will have a series of contributions from Dr. Nguepi. To kickstart the program, I go to Dr. Nguepi so that the members here can listen, and we take a start from that position. Let's get to Dr. Nguepi. As far as the question is concerned, can Cameroon's legislature spur change in Cameroon?
The question we are answering this morning is to find out whether Parliament, be it the lower or the upper house put together, can spur change in Cameroon. And I'm answering with an emphatic no. They have not shown that capacity to be able to solve problems, and therefore they fall short of that glory. They have not done very well, and it's very, very unfortunate.
Thank you, Dr. Nguepi. I'll begin with you, Senior Barrister. From the topic, Cameroon's legislature, can they spur change in Cameroon? You've been in Cameroon for quite some time, and you worked with other national and international organizations, and you've had a vast range of experience. But we look at the time when the country had just the lower house, that is the National Assembly, and now that we have not only the upper house, we also have the regional and the divisional assembly. All these, can we see change, meaningful change that Cameroonians so desire in Cameroon? And also, if you may want to react to Dr. Nguepi.
Yeah, Javis, I'm very surprised with what Dr. Nguepi has just said by saying that the Cameroon legislature has failed and cannot do anything, or cannot effect change. I'm very surprised because we don't really seem to understand what it means by legislature. This is a body that votes the laws that you and me are applying today. If this body didn't create a law on mass media or mass communication or whatever, we will not be sitting here today to talk. So it is strange to say that the legislative body in the country cannot effect change. With the plethora of laws that we have today, it is because we have a legislative body. Whether you like it or not, that is change on its own. Because they modernize the laws to suit the needs of the society at a given moment. They've always been doing that, and to me, they have been up to the task and will do what is expected of them. You know, in a democracy, powers are divided. You have the legislative power, which is the legislature. You have the executive, which is represented by the head of state, and you have the judiciary. Though in Cameroon, the judiciary is yet to be a power, but the legislative power is there. What people don't understand is that two-thirds majority of the assembly can decide anything in this country. Two-thirds majority at any time. So the legislature has its role to play in societal, in the organization of societal norms, societal behaviors, and the laws that govern you and me. So since its inception, it has been playing a very capital role in the change in our society.
Okay, and now let me come to Alex Nguepi. Alex Nguepi, the same question goes to you. Before we had just the National Assembly with 180 members, now we have the Senate, and we also have the regional assemblies who are going to help in terms of accelerating the decentralization process in Cameroon. When we look at all these structures, can we for sure say that yes, this house, this body, the different bodies, body can bring change in Cameroon that we so need?
Oui, bonjour, une fois de plus bonjour, et Ernest nous peut passer la parole. Il faut dire, en principe, dans un état de droit, dans un système démocratique, toutes les réformes, les changements viennent du système législatif, c'est-à-dire parlementaire, que ce soit du côté de l'Assemblée nationale ou bien du Sénat, la haute chambre ou la basse chambre, c'est là où tout est supposé être. Donc c'est le principe démocratique. Même au niveau des régionaux, toutes les décisions qui doivent être prises par un conseil régional s'appliquent au sein de la région, d'après selon leurs compétences, selon les compétences qu'elles sont conférées par le législateur. Pareil pour les conseils municipaux, pour le conseil municipal, toute décision qui est prise s'applique au sein de la localité selon les compétences qui sont définies. Donc la législature, le législateur est celui qui propulse les lois, c'est le représentant du peuple, puisqu'il faut dire que c'est le peuple en fait qui vote les lois. Mais comme le peuple, tout le monde ne peut pas se mettre à voter les lois, on ne peut pas débattre sur les lois, donc le peuple confère donc un mandat à des personnes bien particulières qui sont ses représentants. Donc, par exemple, qu'est-ce qu'on dit que l'autorité de l'État est assumée par le pouvoir exécutif représenté par le président de la République et par le pouvoir parlementaire qui sont les législateurs, donc qui sont les députés. Et que celui qui détient le pouvoir, c'est le peuple, dont le peuple confère un pouvoir au pouvoir exécutif, celui qui doit le diriger, mais il confère notre pouvoir au pouvoir parlementaire, celui qui doit voter les lois. Également, en fait, en démocratie, le peuple confère également un pouvoir à ceux qui doivent le juger, qui sont les magistrats. Donc, en principe, c'est les trois pouvoirs dont le peuple confère. Donc, le pouvoir législatif donc vote des lois. Et dans une démocratie, toute réforme, ils ont la capacité de pouvoir...
comme Cameroun, démocratie comme Cameroun, non?
Non, ça c'est un autre débat. C'est un débat. Ça, on ne va pas commencer sur pas les pics.
Parce que quand tu es dans une démocratie, c'est comme ici...
Tu as simple le débat pour l'instant, je vais y aller. Pour l'instant, je suis d'accord avec lui qu'avec le pouvoir législatif, on peut réformer, on peut mettre toutes les lois possibles. Oui, c'est vrai. Dans une démocratie, par le pouvoir législatif on peut mettre sur pied, amender, faire des réformes constitutionnelles. Maintenant, pour le cas du Cameroun, c'est un débat que tout à l'heure on va peut-être aborder.
Thank you very much. My question was, and let me still ask, maybe summary, you give a summary. Can we have change with all these bodies in Cameroon now? Looking at what we have now, currently, can we have change?
D'accord. Bon, il faut dire que actuellement, d'abord, le Cameroun n'est pas une démocratie. Qu'on soit clair dessus, le Cameroun n'est pas une démocratie. D'abord, quand j'ai dit dans les démocraties, le Cameroun n'est pas une démocratie, le Cameroun est une dictature. Hein, parce qu'en dictature, c'est pas possible. Donc, actuellement, tel que le Parlement est configuré, c'est pas possible. Hein, parce que le pouvoir qui est en place a tout usurpé. La fonction est usurpée par quelques personnes qui ne regardent que leurs intérêts personnels et égoïstes. Ils n'osent pas regarder l'intérêt public, l'intérêt général. La preuve, c'est que le Parlement camerounais, qui devrait impulser le changement, bien qu'il devrait impulser pas des lois, n'arrive pas à légiférer sur la crise anglophone. C'est-à-dire n'arrive même pas à organiser un simple débat. Donc, si sur une question aussi cruciale, aussi essentielle que la crise anglophone, le législateur n'arrive pas à légiférer, comment allez-vous penser que les choses peuvent changer à l'état actuel? Il dit pour la crise anglophone, la Covid-Gate où on vole l'argent du contribuable pour aller s'enrichir en Suisse, pour aller construire des hôtels en Suisse, aller louer des chambres, des appartements.
Non, mais on parlait...
Non, oui, bien sûr, je vous parle du rôle du pouvoir parlementaire, où on paye les jets privés à ses enfants. Donc, le pouvoir législatif n'arrive pas à inscrire à l'ordre du jour la Covid-Gate. Alors, donc, vous comprenez, donc, rien que passer deux exemples-là, le pouvoir législatif camerounais n'est pas à mesure d'insuffler un changement dans ce pays.
Why I take on the other members, I just want to do a follow-up of what you said. You said Cameroon is not a democratic nation, but when we look at the unit of analysis, what equates democracy in the nation, there is what we call the freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of belonging to a political party and multi-party, and which under that 1990 law brought in by the President of the Republic that reintroduced multi-party politics in Cameroon. Under that, your party is enjoying, and your party went in for election. Are you? Let me just ask the question: are you saying that with all these, your party is illegal? First, are you saying that your party went in for the 2018 election under the basis, knowing fully well that there's no democracy in Cameroon? Then why would there be an election?
Monsieur
no, I just want to look at what we talk about democracy.
Monsieur Javis, vous êtes.
Well, your key word is that there is no democracy.
Oui, vous appartenez au 4e pouvoir, n'est-ce pas? Je crois lorsque lors des marches du MRC, vous avez été personnellement interpellé, arrêté et gardé en vue. Dans une démocratie, est-ce qu'on peut le faire à un organe indépendant qui est la presse? Par exemple, un cas très simple, c'est-à-dire une déclaration. Vous êtes là dans une démocratie. Donc, permettez-moi, non, vous avez violé quelle loi? Vous avez le droit de faire vos reports. Vous avez été arrêté.
No, you have not answered my question.
Et vous avez parlé de liberté d'expression. Blanc expliquer que liberté d'expression. Quelle expression? Est-ce que la
My question is, you said there is no democracy.
Je vous dis pourquoi pas de démocratie. Pourquoi vous voulez forcément que je vous dis dans un état de droit où on parle de démocratie? Est-ce que la liberté d'expression se limite à venir bavarder sur la télévision? Les manifestations font partie de la liberté d'expression. Est-ce qu'au Cameroun, donnez-moi une seule manifestation que le MRC ou le parti opposition organise depuis au moins 10 ans?
Ok, thank you.
C'est bon pour dire que la démocratie, lorsque déjà des éléments qui concordent, qui prouvent que certaines choses ne sont pas respectées, ce n'est pas une démocratie.
Thank you.
Vous n'avez pas dit le contraire.
Let me come to you, Mr. Ignatius. I know I will do a follow-up with Barrister on that question I asked you about the issue of democracy. Mr. Ignatius, when we look at the structures now in Cameroon, we have now the House of Chiefs, we have now the regional assemblies, we have the upper and lower house, all these bodies, and before now we didn't have some of these structures. It's like a complete circle. Can we now say, okay, now that the circle is completed, we can have change in Cameroon?
Yes, I would like to say yes, it can be. But when we are talking about legislators, we are talking about those who are already in the office and those who are still to come into the office. So it's a type of debate which is in two ways. So for those who are already in office, you know, why I'm saying yes, because we know that there are laws that have been voted by the legislators that have been applied in Cameroon. But for the fact that there are burning issues that Cameroonians themselves, the citizens, they start clamoring for it, that they want the legislator to put them on the table and discuss. And we have not seen it done like that. For that reason, we feel that they have not done enough. They are not exactly what the citizens want. But they can still bring a change. If they can bring a change, we know that they have already been voted into the office. If they can change that mentality of the kind of mentality that we see in this in the National Assembly and the upper and the lower houses of assembly, there's that kind of mentality of party discipline. I'm that kind of person who believe that if there is a law that is supposed to be voted, parties should not go and hold meetings who are being voted for me, not serving the party anymore. Okay. But if we have to talk about those who are still to be voted into the office, we begin to talk about the modalities of getting into the office. Okay. We still have something to talk about the same party politics. And then sometimes I begin to see, you know, there have been some failures because the people behind, the people you are serving, sometimes they even fail the legislator. And what is the reason? You know, when some leaders are being imposed on the people, you know, in the constituency, there are people who are popular. You see, people were expecting him maybe to be their parliamentarian. When another person is brought from behind who is not popular and imposed on the people. So
you are talking about the impact of investitures?
Yes, the people refuse to collaborate with the leader. It now brings it brings a failure. The leader, it becomes difficult for him to work. That's why I'm trying to talk about those who are still to come into office and those who are already already in office. So those who are still to come, we have to look on the modalities that are used to bring leaders into the office, so that people should work in collaboration with those leaders. Sometimes when the leaders are failed from behind, some of them being frustrated, they will prefer to bring development in their own way. Okay. Maybe by making themselves, maybe building a duplex for himself, buying dear cars to prove to you that he's living.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Mayor, you have the civil society, and last time you were in the far north region, you've been around Cameroon, getting to the masses, getting to know what they are thinking, talking to them. When we look at the structures that we have now, what are the kind of information that they have as far as the legislature in Cameroon is concerned, and are they very confident that the current status quo now, and all the with the introduction of the regional assembly, House of Chiefs, and the National Assembly, the Senate, if they believe that we can have meaningful change in Cameroon now, that the nation is championing for, the state or the government is championing for accelerated decentralization?
Yeah, Javis, for the sake of those who are watching us, I would like us to first of all understand who is the legislature of a country. The legislature is that body that is in charge of making laws that are applicable to the citizens of a country, laws that are supposed to be respected, that will make life good and meaningful for the citizens of a country. In the case of Cameroon, the legislature, like you've cited, made up of the National Assembly, the Senate, we have the regional councils. Those are those who are in charge of making laws in Cameroon. There is this cliche that we have often used to say that Cameroon has good laws, but we have a problem with the applicability of the laws in Cameroon. So now, should we now ask this question: does the problem lie with the legislator or with the Cameroonian people in respecting laws? So now we'll look at how are these laws made. Do they actually favor the Cameroonian people who makes these laws in the persons of the legislator, like the parliamentarians, the senators? Do they actually represent their people when they are making these laws? It is in this spirit that when we look at them objectively, we'll begin to see if they can spur change or not. That is what we are supposed to look. And when we look at, there are some parliamentarians and senators who have a very positive feedback from their constituencies, and these are the kind of people we would like to represent the nation. They would like them to represent us, and it is from this group of people that we hoped that they can spur change. But we also see some of these legislators, they are there like not representing the people, and they are always at loggerheads with their people, and it would appear these legislators are imposed on their people. So in this case, we will now look at, can this type of legislators implement spur change? That's another.
Now, when you talk to the people, do they believe in the legislative body that we have in Cameroon?
It is a two-way something, Javis. We have those who believe in their legislators, that they are there to represent them, and each law that they're going to promulgate or they are going to vote for is going to help them move ahead to bring the needed change in the country. And there is the group also that do not represent their people in their people's interests, but are there for their personal interests. I can remember one politician, a lady, who said, if you see most of our parliamentarians, they are there to protect the business. And she was very categorical on that, and she said she could go on trying to identify that, but it's not time for that. So it is in this light that we look at that it will be very difficult to pinpoint and say this yes, the legislator can spur change, or no, the legislator cannot spur change.
I want us to go to Dr. Nick again so that Senior Barrister will react. Then I ask my question following Alex Nguepi, because he talked about the issue that there is no democracy in Cameroon. My underlying word, there is no democracy in Cameroon. And let's get back to Dr. Nick Nguanyam and find out as far as this same topic is concerned.
But for us to get to understand what we are saying, let us look at the anatomy and physiology of parliament as it is now. Then we will understand why they are inefficient, and then in the second part we will find out what exactly has to happen so that they become as good as we expect them to be. You see, when we are talking about parliament, it's an issue of a debate between what is right and what is falsehood, truth and lies. And you can therefore tell that it's not about a majority. It's not about having lots of people in the parliament and the Senate trying to seek the truth. The truth remains the truth, whether it's spoken by one or two people, it remains the truth. So you don't need 500 people, 1,000 people to identify the truth. Even when the truth is identified by one person and it is the truth, it remains the truth. And therefore, I would say that we don't need a Senate. That Senate is just a heavy burden on the taxpayer, given that they are really not useful. They don't address themselves to problems. So we have just created another channel for wasting resources, and is making a bad situation worse. So the 180 parliamentarians that we have in the nation, those are okay. Except, of course, that we can complain that the distribution over the national territory is not equitable, and probably we can look into that and try to adjust it. But it's not an issue of numbers. The numbers in themselves don't matter, and what we need to be looking at is the capacity to solve problems. The capacity to solve problems. And when they don't have that capacity, the capacity to be identify and speak that truth, if they cannot do that, then they are wanting, and that's where the problem lies. So we don't need a Senate now. We need just 180 parliamentarians. Those 180 parliamentarians should be distributed equitably or reasonably all over the national territory, and not piled in certain areas. And for that parliament to be effective, we have to look at their capacity to solve problems. We have to look at their characters. These are two things that we need to pay attention to.
That was Dr. Nick contributing, talking about that. First, we don't need a Senate. Senior Barrister, he says we don't need a Senate, that the Senate is a burden, and that the entire members of the Senate have not been able to do what is required. And he talked about the issue of honesty, and also mentioned the fact that it's not all about numbers that change can come, that the 180 is enough for members of parliament and should be equitably distributed.
The first point is that, Javis, I've noticed that most of the speakers have deviated from the question.
Yeah.
The question is, can the legislature
all the
spur change?
Yes, in Cameroon.
In Cameroon. The answer is yes, because without a legislature, we cannot have rules, we cannot have laws which will be binding on everybody. So it means, whether we like it or not, no matter what we think about it, the legislature can effect change, can spur up change in Cameroon. What I notice is that people are now going to define the characters and the characteristics of those who man the legislature in Cameroon. I'm sure that was not your question. But in any case, I will respect Dr. Nguyen's opinion, whatever he says. But you should understand one thing. His truth may not be my truth, may not be Alexis' truth, may not be Mr. May's truth, may not be Ignatius' truth, it may not be your truth. His truth is just his own truth. And you see, we need now to come together to take that same truth to put on the table for us to agree as to what is the truth, to follow that path. Thirdly, when you say the Senate is a burden on the taxpayer, that's just an opinion. You are talking about which taxpayer. If the majority of Cameroonians, they want it to be put in place, you alone sit in your own small tight corner and say it's not.
I'm sure last time
it's not
Senator Kemande in one of the sisters program here said if he had the authority he would scrap off the Senate.
He should start by resigning. He's a senator. Why is he not resigning? He's still sitting here and saying he should scrap it up. Good. You like to talk to the gallery. Let him resign. To say this thing is useless. What am I doing here? And all the money he's been taking from there, gives it back to the Cameroonian people or gives it back to the government, they will know he's talking. It's not good to say things which you are saying you cannot practice. You cannot say something useless when you are part of it. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't at all. The Senate has its role in the Cameroon we have today. Whether you like it or not, it is there to control the excesses of the Parliament, of the National Assembly. Everything goes there for second reading. And either there they try to modify it and send it back for a review, or the actually it should be scrapped. We should understand that we have a constitution. At the same time, we cry that the constitution will be applied. At the same time, we don't want issues, certain parts of the constitution will be applicable. What type of thing is this? We should learn to understand and respect constituted institutions and authority, and wait for the day that it is changed for you to follow a different path. But insofar as of date, we've agreed that the constitution we are using is the Nigerian constitution, we should learn to respect it. Okay. If you want to change it, you should know what to do. Go for elections and make sure it is changed, and not sit and be criticizing it without being constructive.
Senior Barrister, I want us to get into another context still on the topic. If our legislature, if Cameroon's legislature can spell change. When we look at the both houses, the upper and lower house, before looking at other arms, and will you agree with many Cameroonians who have the opinion that these structures, yes, can spell change in Cameroon, but in its current functionality now, it is limited in bringing the much desired change, taking into consideration that they voted for the declaration of asset, but the text of application has not been signed by the President of the Republic, and the Parliament and the Senate have not been there to say, hey, His Excellency, please work on this document because we need that functioning. I'm sure that with that in mind, Cameroonians can say, yes, at the current dispensation, we can trust all the individual organs that it can spell change in Cameroon.
The problem of declaration of assets,
because it was long past.
It is the laws are all there already. Everything is there. Even the law on application is there already.
The text of application.
Yes, it's there already. But the fun is that you Cameroonians don't want to apply it. It is not for the legislator to ensure the application of the text that they vote. They voted the text. It is there. It is not for you Cameroonians to apply it. All the instruments are already there. Now people don't know they are there. But if the Cameroonians decide not to respect it, who is supposed to enforce it? Blame that person who has the right to enforce it, who is not doing it. Don't say the legislature is not doing its job. The legislature has done its job. Enforceability of whatever text comes from Parliament is not their role. It is just not their role. So don't put it on them. They've done their job, which is okay. And then whoever is supposed to take over continues. And to me, the first blame to me goes to Cameroonians who refuse to do a declaration. And I know a couple of people have done that. They assume office. They make a list of what they have and send to the authorities. Many people have done that. Some are not doing. And most often than not, there's no legislation that says it should be public.
Yeah.
It's done in a particular way. And some people have done it already that I know. But most others have not. So who do you blame? I will not blame the legislature for not doing that. I'll blame you and me, the Cameroonians who are supposed to do it, and we're not doing it. Let's take the blame too. I say, look, you know, when it comes to the management of a country or issues about a nation, it is collective responsibility. It can never be individual. It is collective.
Okay, I want us again, before getting to Alex, I want us again briefly, when we look at, again, we're talking about spurring of the spur change issue by the legislator. When we look at the current landscape now, can we again see reasons with those who say the current legislature that we have in Cameroon, the current dispensation, cannot bring change because the Anglophone crisis has been there, and the lower and the upper house seemingly has not picked up the issue as it ought to be. Other nations, their legislature, their body picked up the issue and talked about it and even taken some actions. But whereas Cameroon is yet to have that full discussion as to this is our position, this is the House position on this issue, and this is the Senate position on this issue.
Are there any Ambazonians in the parliament?
No, we are talking about holding the people accountability.
Look, the issue about Anglophone problem is not something that has been off.
Because there is a difference between an Anglophone problem and an Ambazonian problem.
So when I talk about Anglophone problem, it's not something of today. It's something that still started in 1961. So don't make it as if it is something new. But what has intervened, which is causing the inconvenience, is the fact that there's a group of persons who are going to take up arms to destroy the peace that we used to have in our region. Why do you want to put on the head of the legislature? Why? Is it their problem? Those who have taken up arms, are they in parliament? You should understand that to go to parliament, first of all, you must belong to a political party. You don't just fall from a petrary. There's no independent candidate. So you must belong to a political party that has a political ideology. And is that ideology which is being sold to the public for elections? So if you succeed to have the majority, it means the population has adhered to your policies. And you cannot enter parliament, and instead of going for the policy that has caused you to be voted into, you start doing and derailing to go elsewhere. You should understand that a parliamentarian should be capable of managing the problem of his constituency, of managing the issues of his party, and harmonize them to put it in such a way that everything goes smoothly, especially at his own level, so that he should be voted next time. If you can't harmonize those two, you want to separate them by saying, no, I'm a parliamentarian, I want to go solo, please be careful. There's elections coming, means you're not ready for it. That's why in Cameroon, as of date, election goes is a teamwork. In as much as it is local elections, it starts from a political party, which is a team that brings you up and gives you the how to go about it. So if you come there and think that only those who have voted you should be responsible for them, you always fail, because next time, if that team doesn't bring you forward, how do you come in?
Okay.
So you have to be very careful. So to serve your people, you should be capable of harmonizing the people's interest and that of your party. It's very important.
Alex Nguepi,
you must talk about democracy.
Yes.
You say Cameroon is not a democratic country.
It's not a democratic country.
I don't know how Mr. Nguepi or Alex wants to define democracy. To him, democracy is when they allow MRC to enter into alliance with Ambazonia to march in Paris or march in Geneva. To him, that's democracy. So when it comes to Cameroon, that thing cannot apply here. You can't do that here. And once you can't do that here, they will refuse to doing it. You feel a time. Let me tell you something about marching. Why should if you've gone to Yaoundé, you should understand that to march from Carrefour Wada to wherever the one will march to, it's a very busy street. Why can't you go and march in Konkana? Why can't you go and march in Madagascar, Yaoundé? Why can't you go and march where you will not disturb the public? You want to choose where, if you go to Yaoundé, that area, Mahima, from Hilton and right down to Carrefour, right down to Carrefour Nkak, it is a super busy street. The traffic jam there is enormous. You want to come on a certain day and add to that, and you think that it shouldn't stop you, and you start saying, oh, there's no democracy. Why can't you go and march in Betwa? Why can't you go and march in Bamenda? You go and march in Kambe. You choose the center of the center. You choose Ndoh market to go and march. You choose Carrefour Wada to go and march. It's not fair, because by marching you are disturbing the rights of others. You should agree on that, and that's what the problem is. And when once they say no to you, oh, there's no democracy. No.
Okay, Alex, you want to react to that?
Oui, d'abord, je suis très surpris de la chute qu'a fait Maître. C'est un peu décevant parce que dans la loi de 90, il est précisé que l'itinéraire peut être changé par l'autorité administrative. Et de deux, c'est une liberté pour un parti politique de décider là où ils veulent marcher. La loi n'a pas dit marcher ici, marcher pas là. Maintenant, il est dit dans cette loi que l'autorité administrative peut changer l'itinéraire. Donc, s'il estime que marcher du Kafouada ou bien marcher à nos côtés est dangereux pour la sécurité, pour leur sécurité à eux, ils peuvent envoyer la marche même ailleurs. Je tiens à rappeler que nous avons marché à partir de leur pont, où Gaëtan Somdi, un militant du MRC, a été fusillé au pied. Il était à l'intérieur dans le quartier. Alors, si on va dans son raisonnement, lorsque nous avons marché, donc, commencé à marcher du niveau de leur pont là, et avec donc quel enjeu dans ce cas-là? Il n'y avait pas, c'était pas pareil. Il était au quartier, donc il marchait au quartier. Et on voit bien une vidéo où il marche, quelqu'un tire, un policier tire sur son pied. Donc vous comprenez que ce sont des raisons fallacieuses que Maître a donné. Il veut bien défendre une posture. Je comprends très bien que Maître a de la peine à défendre la posture du RDPC et que voilà, bon, il faut faire. Il faut chercher des acrobaties. Il faut chercher des acrobaties. Et même parlant des marches, je tiens à rappeler que c'est le LPC parce que c'est un marché. J'ai demandé qu'ils nous disent une seule marche de MRC, ça n'existe nulle part ailleurs. Même à Ebolova, nous avons demandé à marcher, ça n'a pas été le cas.
Et maybe the places that you guys
are choosing. Je suis avec du thème. J'ai demandé à marcher avec du thème, à Ambam, qui me dit ces enjeux, qui me dit si à Ambam, je marche à Ambam avec mes amis politiques, avec la population locale, qu'ils me disent donc si de Ambam Sky tout dit pour de léger Paul Biasson, on entend c'est dit, c'est au moins 350 km, donc si c'est possible. Donc, un maître donne des raisons fallacieuses comme ça, c'est vraiment déplorable. J'arrive. J'ai dit tout à l'heure, l'autorité administrative peut choisir notre lieu. Qu'il le fasse. Il ne peut pas venir nous remettre. On dit, nous remet alternative de liberté de choisir un endroit. Lui, avocat, il sait très bien, l'autorité peut dire, allez dans tel autre endroit. La loi a prévu ce contournement. Ils n'ont jamais appliqué. Et je tiens à dire, pendant des marches, dont il estime que le MRC est un patronnement dangereux comme pas marché. Parallèlement, il estime que il y a une marche qui est accordée au niveau du Nord. Il y a eu une marche au Mayo Sanaga où la marche du LPC a été accordée. Mais on a refusé notre marche en disant raison évoquée la COVID-19. Et ils ont aussi par là accordé aussi refusé la marche du LPC aujourd'hui. Mais ce n'est pas dit aux gens que la marche du LPC a été refusée parce que on doit introduire cette demande une semaine avant. La LPC a introduit cette demande le mardi. Donc on aurait dû dire raison évoquée parce que ça ne respectait pas le texte de loi. Mais ils ont dit Covid-19 pour faire croire aux gens que c'était un pays démocratique. On a refusé pour l'LPC, on a refusé pour le MRC. Mais parallèlement, au Mayo Sanaga, ils ont dit Covid-19. Le Cameroun du Mayo Sanaga et le Cameroun du Nord, quand ils marchent, il n'y a pas Covid-19 là-bas. Donc si on va dans leur logique, on peut donc comprendre que ceux du Nord peuvent, s'il vous plaît, ceux qui sont au Nord peuvent marcher, créer des points, hein, des points de la Covid-19 et mourir parce qu'ils sont au Nord. Tandis qu'à Yaoundé, vous ne pouvez pas marcher parce qu'à Covid-19, donc les gens de Yaoundé ne doivent pas marcher à cause de la Covid-19, mais au Nord, vous marchez à cause de la Covid-19. Donc, ce sont ces ensembles de raisons fallacieuses que le RDPC a développé, qui démontrent, vous avez compris du RDPC, vous parlez de place du RDPC, qui démontre la suffisance que le Cameroun n'est pas un État démocratique. Il vient comme de le prouver, tout de suite de le démontrer sur ce plateau, par lui-même en disant à un parti politique ce qu'il doit faire. Ce qui est un esprit, ce qui est intelligent en démocratie, vous ne pouvez pas dire à un parti politique qui s'oppose à vous comment il devrait se conformer, comment est-ce qu'il doit mener sa politique de conquête du pouvoir. Nous choisissons nos créneaux, nos voies de moyens républicains.
Okay.
Mais ce n'est pas comment faire.
You were reacting to senior barrister Ashu position. Let me ask you now to my question. Well, let's come to Cameroon. A while ago, you said that normally in a democracy, the body can effect change in Cameroon. The legislature can effect change in Cameroon. Now, if we look at what we have currently now, with the Senate, the National Assembly, and we now have an introduction of the regional house and the regional assemblies, can all these bodies now not bring the change that MRC has been talking about prior to 2018? Because by 2018 we never had the House of Chiefs. By 2018 there was no divisional assembly. By 2018 we had not had a major national dialogue, and I'm sure a lot of issues were raised.
Vous savez, pour changer un État, le Cameroun est un État-nation. On change à partir de l'État central fort. Donc s'il faut le changement s'impulse à partir de l'Assemblée nationale. Parce que je tiens à rappeler que ce que les lois, pensons des lois, ce que peut décider, les décisions que peuvent prendre les conseils régionaux et les conseillers municipaux ne sont pas de qualité à pouvoir impulser un changement parce qu'ils ne prennent que dans la localité. Donc celui qui a le pouvoir du changement, c'est le législateur. C'est le législateur ici réellement dit, c'est le pouvoir parlementaire qui est le Sénat, la haute chambre et les députés, la basse chambre. Mais tout à l'heure, il faudrait qu'on le rappelle, le rôle du député est clair. Voter les lois contre son gouvernement. Et dans le contre son gouvernement, tout à l'heure il a parlé d'études d'Ambazonie, il faudrait qu'on dise que ça m'amuse parce que dans le rôle du contrôle de l'action du gouvernement, inscrire les problèmes anglophones à l'ordre du jour, ça entre dans ce rôle. C'est-à-dire c'est le rôle du député d'inscrire, il dit ça pendant 60 ans. En 60 ans, il n'y avait pas d'Assemblée nationale, ça existait. Ils ont laissé le problème perdurer, ils ont mis sur pied de mauvaises lois. Et aujourd'hui, donc, il faudrait qu'ils inscrivent ça à l'ordre du jour. Ça entre dans l'action de contrôle du gouvernement. Donc, dans le cas actuel, les lois camerounaises d'abord sont mal ficelées. On a des très mauvaises lois. Je suis sûr que les gens disent que le Cameroun a des bonnes lois. Non. Le Cameroun a des mauvaises lois. Il y a des lois au Cameroun qui faillent carrément aplatir, qu'on doit carrément
when you talk about the fact that Cameroon don't have good laws.
Non, on a des lois, mais parmi ces lois-là, le Cameroun est un pays qui doit être reformé. Parce que, non, il y a des lois qui sont vétustes au Cameroun. Par la loi de 90, elle est vétuste. Il y a tellement de lois au Cameroun qui sont vétustes qu'il faut reformer. Mais il n'arrive pas à reformer ces lois. Par le code du travail. Il doit être reformé.
Because you said you hear people
donc, il y a tellement, c'est de mauvaises lois aujourd'hui, actuellement. Par le code du travail de 92. Le code du travail de 92, où on dit que vous négociez le contrat avec l'employeur. L'État ne s'implique pas. Est-ce qu'il est encore actualisé? Alors que tous les pays sont en train de faire des réformes. Il y a que ce code du travail. Donc il y a tellement de mauvaises lois qu'il faut actualiser que le Cameroun n'arrive pas à actualiser. Donc le rôle du législateur, c'est de voter les lois et c'est de contrôler l'action gouvernementale. Donc dans le bureau du contrôle de l'action gouvernementale, il devrait nécessairement débattre le cas de la crise anglophone. Il devrait convoquer les ministres impliqués. Il devrait faire, parce que quand un ministre dit que les anglophones, quand les avocats ont commencé à marcher les avocats, quand ils n'auront plus faim, ils vont rentrer. Quand ils ont grévé, ils vont rentrer plaider. Alors ce ministre-là, l'Assemblée devrait le convoquer. Il devrait instruire des commissions parlementaires. Des commissions d'enquête parlementaires ne le font pas. Donc il y a tellement de choses que le législateur... Maintenant, je suis dit que c'est le citoyen. Non. Nous avons délégué. Nous avons délégué cela à des individus. Okay. Ces individus donc doivent faire le boulot. Ce n'est pas le citoyen qui décide d'appliquer les lois, ou ce n'est pas le citoyen qui décide de faire. Et d'ailleurs, je tiens à dire qu'ils ne veulent même pas que le citoyen s'exprime parce que la marche, l'expression, les marches font partie des l'expression. Donc, parce que les gens peuvent marcher pour demander que la Covid-Gate soit inscrite à l'ordre du jour, pour demander que la crise anglophone.
Même la Sophie Cameroun, non?
Non, peu importe du tout. Il n'y a pas de souci à cela. C'est le droit. C'est normal. Donc, pour demander que la Covid soit inscrite à l'ordre du jour, pour demander que la crise anglophone soit inscrite à l'ordre du jour, au lieu qu'on tire sur eux, on les arrête comme mon frère Ewane se trouve aujourd'hui en prison, avec Salomon Bias en prison parce qu'on demandait qu'on mette fin à la crise de nos eaux. Alors, ces marches donc permettraient donc aux citoyens de mettre la pression sur les élus. Mais ils ne veulent même pas que les citoyens mettent la pression sur les élus. Okay. Mais après, ils viennent vous faire comprendre que c'est le citoyen. Non, ce sont les élus.
Mais là, c'est la pression.
Ignatius, well, we are talking about the legislative body now in Cameroon. I'm sure in the late 2000s, when we had just the regional assembly, many Cameroonians did not understand the functionality. Do you believe that Cameroonians now do understand the functionality of the legislative body and know when they are doing their job or not? Because people seemingly not to understand if there are changes in Cameroon, if that body can affect change, simply because they don't understand the body itself, how it functions, the responsibilities. Because you will hear members of parliament will go and campaign in a village and say they will construct roads and they will build schools and the rest. But we understand that the state has a responsibility. There's a work called the state project, and there's what called the parliamentary project, the parliamentary grant. Do these people understand these bodies that we're talking about? Because we are asking if it can spell change. But if they don't even understand the body, how will they know if it can spell change?
Yes, at the level of the parliamentarians, I can say
yeah.
Yes, let me say something first of all on the Senate. I believe that the Cameroonians are like feeling disappointed because normally when we started talking about the Senate, you know, the parliament has been there for many years, and even though we know that the parliamentarians, some of them have been able to go back to their villages and try to carry out certain projects like schools and maybe certain bridges. That is, those are certain things that we can call it as an eyewitness. That's the role of parliamentarians. But when we started talking about the Senate, you know, some people they thought that the Senate, I cannot define a clear difference between the Senate and the Parliament, or a clear change of since the arrival of the Senate. Because for, you know, Barrister said it, that the Senate has been acting as an advisory body to the Parliament. Yeah, I don't see it. It's not enough. You know, let me just quote you one example to make it clear what I'm trying to say. Okay, for example, if somebody asks a question that since the arrival of Chinese in Cameroon, I can tell you that a grandmother right at the end of the boundary, the village, the last village, feels the arrival of Chinese in Cameroon, because right now a grandmother in the village can use a telephone. Now our parents do not more trek the kind of kilometers they used to trek to go to the market. That's to show a clear change since the arrival of the Chinese. But now I'm trying to apply that one to the Senate. Since the arrival of the Senate, I cannot really define what has happened in Cameroon, which has not been happening since the arrival of the Senate in Cameroon. That's why you see Cameroonians now, some Cameroonians are feeling like being disappointed. To me personally, I thought that, you know, the understanding of some Cameroonians, we thought that Senate was coming to maybe reduce some powers of the executive. You know, the executive in Cameroon, we fear that, yes, they have overpowers. We thought that the arrival of the Senate was coming to maybe reduce the powers on the executive. But since the arrival of the Senate, we are not seeing the Cameroon has continued functioning in the way it was. Yes.
What you are saying is the local man don't understand the functionality and don't actually see the changes which has been effected since the Senate came into
effective. But they can say something on the Parliament, because we have seen at least certain projects have been carried at the level of the village. Because this question you are asking me can equally be asked to a grandmother in the village. Do you know what is called Senate? If she say yes, since the arrival of Senate, what do you think the Senate has done in Cameroon? I'm not very sure that grandmother will be able to give a clear response to your question.
Okay, Mr. Ernest, I want us to cue from what his response are. If we look at the legislature now, all this house, I'll go back to the first question I asked again. Can we for sure say that Cameroonians understand the functionality of these bodies? And secondly, if they do they see that changes can come? Because basically, as senior barrister always say, that there are changes there, but people don't see it. If you don't understand how something functions, you may not know whether changes, or if it can spur change in the country or not, because we have seen Dr. Nick says it cannot, and senior barrister said, no, a house is a house that makes laws, and that this body can determine how Cameroon functions in the next 50 years. Do Cameroonians understand these bodies, how they function? Do they understand? And secondly, if they do understand, do they believe that changes can come? Because you talk with them on a daily basis.
Yeah, Javis, it is a very difficult thing to ascertain if Cameroonians understand the difference between the legislature and the executive bench of power. So it is confusing to Cameroonians. We tend to believe that it is the legislature that is supposed to bring about development, create opportunities to solve problems in Cameroon, whereas that is not the case. We have some mix up there, and it is what is making us to believe that the legislature is not performing its task. Like Senior Barrister Ashu said, this legislature is there to put laws in place that is going to affect the life of the nation. So they have been doing that, but those laws are not being applied by Cameroonians, like he said. So but to the common man, to the man in the street or the man in the village, he will not understand that his parliamentarian is there to look at laws, but he will understand that the parliamentarian is there to bring development, to offer job, to create employment. And
yeah, because you get even members of parliament go on campaign rally and tell you that
this is
we are going
where
to construct road, we are going to
this
bring
is where the
electricity,
confusion
we are
starts.
going to, I'm going to do
so
this.
If we actually understood the role that is played by our legislators in the legislators in the administration of the country, we would then know how to what to expect from them and know what to expect from who.
Because basically, if you don't know their functionality, you cannot grade them and say yes, that this structure can.
For sure, you cannot grade them,
Cameroon.
and it is like going to expect that a teacher is going to perform the work of a soldier. It would not work that way.
Let's get back to Dr. Nguepi and to see what he has for this next part.
We had defined democracy as majority takes the vote, but when it comes to Africa, the concept of majority taking the vote is, or majority being right, is actually creating more problems for us than solutions, in the sense that when a majority takes a vote or agrees on something, it should be an informed position that reflects the truth. But when that position does not reflect the truth, even if you have the whole house, voting for a lie, that lie cannot become the truth just because the whole house voted for it. And that is where the real crisis lies, where people, for one reason and the other, cannot stand for the truth. They don't stand for the truth, number one, out of ignorance, or number two, because they would say that their hands are tied. These are the two reasons. And so if we can seek to correct the ignorance factor and seek to correct the hand-tying factor, then and help people to see the real truth in the interest of common man and the whole nation, then we'll begin to have a parliament that is useful, and we don't need to have a lower house, an upper house, a third, fourth, fifth house. That is not necessary.
Your reaction?
My brother Dr. Nguepi always comes out of this issue of truth. What does he mean? For example, a Muslim feels that Jesus Christ was just a prophet. Christians feel that Jesus Christ was a Messiah, was the Son of God, and much more than a prophet. Which one is truth? To a Muslim, his truth is his own truth. To a Christian, his truth is his own truth. So we should be very careful when we're talking
truth is relative.
About politics. We have to be very careful when we talk about truth in politics. It's very, very relative, as you say. Very, very relative. In any case, what I expect us from this program, I expect that all of us, before coming, we must have read our constitution to understand that each body has its own role to play in the society. Our legislature is there to legislate and control government action. Controlling government action doesn't mean tell the government what it's supposed to do. To legislate means you vote the laws and send it out there for the nation.
It's enforced by the enforcement officers.
Because those in charge.
That's Justice Department.
That is their position. So if you want to mix it up, like my brother says about I feel the impact of my grandmother in the village. How many grandmothers does he have? Maybe his own grandmother doesn't understand. But there are many grandmothers that who do understand. So that is the catch. You see, that's a catch 20 I usually say. That maybe what you don't know, some other person knows. But the day you do your research and understand it better, you become explaining the nitty-gritties of it. Our legislation in Cameroon, the way it is structured, comes from the grassroots. They are voted by people, you see them every day. So you choose the person we are going to send to parliament, which must have been your neighbor. We must have seen him do certain things in society. You must have appreciated him, and you must have the feeling that this guy going to parliament is really going to represent me or represent the nation. So it is a grassroots thing. So when he goes there and does his job, you have a right to question him. I'm asking how many of us here has ever taken the pains to go to your parliamentarian to ask him what's going on? I will bet you none of us here.
Senior barrister, getting to you, I want to find out these issues. Do the common man in, let's say, the one from Laikom, the one from Gokitunya, the one from Agokunjaman, the one from Ekona Munya, the one from Garabulai, do they understand the role of the legislature? Do they understand these? Because it is from understanding the role of the legislature that they can see if this same legislature can spur change in the country. And secondly, do the members of parliament even do these same people the favor to go back to their constituency and give them political education? Or parties, or the different political parties, do they take the pain to give political education to the masses to understand that these persons or the set of persons you shall be voting in any election, this is how the body function and this is how the house function?
Yes, you know,
because a lot of Cameroonians could be saying there's no change in the country of the legislators, they don't do it based on their perception they have about the house. Remember, if you don't tell your story, somebody else tells it from the wrong perspective.
Okay, yes, Javis, we are here to educate the population to the best of our capabilities and of our knowledge. I live in Monaberi, and my parliamentarian is called Mr. Fanja. He has an office at Carrefour Chateau, where if you have any questions about his functions, about the problems in our area, about whatever you want to know about the parliament, about the parliamentary, the function of the parliament in Cameroon, you can go there. That is what is expected of every parliamentarian, to make sure you have an office wherever you're coming from, to make sure for people to be capable of coming there to talk to you, or to find out what you're doing, or your stewardship and whatever. But you see, it would appear some parliamentarians don't do that. They don't have offices, they don't have where you can see them, they don't have where you can meet them. We are lucky in Monaberi that we have one. That's why I like the parliamentarian we have in Monaberi, in as much as we have the same party, but I like his style in the sense that he has a secretariat and office. He's ready for that. And you know, if you want information, you must go to the source.
Like the case of the...
You can't sit in a market Munyenge and you think you know how parliament functions without going to look for the parliamentarian.
But senior barrister, how often will you get into that office? It's not time for them to call rallies as they do in campaign and educate the people and say, hey, this is our function.
Parliamentarians don't do that. They don't call rallies thereafter. The party calls rallies, and the parliamentarian can be called up to say something. That's what goes on.
Yeah, you're answering the question.
So what I'm saying is that if you want information about something, go to the source. It's when you don't go to the source that you start misinformation. You start feeling that, oh, I don't know anything about this structure, it means it's not functioning. Meanwhile, it is just because you may be ignorant because you never went to the source to find out information.
What is
so we're asking on the population that go towards your parliamentarian and ask them about their stewardship. Ask them because they're under the obligation to answer you. They are supposed to tell you what they're doing in parliament. If not, next time you will not vote for them. That's how it's supposed to be.
Okay. Now, in the case of Northwest, we have the Anglophone crisis.
Yes.
How should these people go to the parliament?
The
parliamentarians are on vacation in Yaoundé.
Now proximity is not a problem because we have telephone. So we now have to adjust with the times. I would not like anybody to risk his life to being kidnapped by some talk or whatever because he wants to go and inform the population. There's this instrument which we are using. Most often than not, all our information we have now in this country comes from this instrument. Okay. Why can't we use it to inform the population? It's easy. So a parliamentarian member should be known by his constituency so that they can ask him questions on his telephone for him to answer.
Okay. Ernest Nguepi, you want to react to that?
No.
Briefly. Yes, briefly.
Yes, I was trying to say that this, what the barrister is saying, you know, I thought that it was necessary when a law is about to be voted. It is necessary, as just the question, as it's necessary for a parliamentarian to go back to the constituency and hold a meeting with his own people and propose to them that this is what is going to be about to be voted in the parliament and hear their own opinion before going back, not holding a meeting in the party. Okay, right now, the situation, then let the voting in the parliament be the kind that I can be in one party and I vote somebody from another party, it means that you bring an idea. Yes, you bring an idea, which means that it's a brilliant idea. Javis, I have a friend, a schoolmate who told me that in presidential election he will vote SDF, but in parliamentary election he's going to vote CPDM. So those are the kind of mentality we want.
It happens in the United States. It's common that you see.
Right now, let me take an example of my own constituency. Like Javis, like Barisa was saying, let me take an example from my own constituency. In Batibo,
briefly,
maybe the blame might go on the crisis. The people of Batibo, we don't know who is the parliamentarian. I happen to know him because he was a schoolmate. And then the mayor, nobody. So it was supposed. It's even necessary, like Barrister said, that the media is open in a way that one can go on air and make your people to know who you are. Right now in Batibo, we don't know who is a parliamentarian and who is a.
Alex,
you have driven them.
Alex, has your party, as your party, involved in political education to get the people understand this, the functionality of the legislature, to know that if you were to vote us in any upcoming election, this is how that body functions, this is how you hold us accountable, and this is how you know if we are working or not. Does your party carry out this political education?
Oui, nous le faisons. Barista Ashu, et je dis toujours le RDPC aime fuir en avant. C'est-à-dire, il estime que c'est le citoyen qui doit chercher l'information. Non, il est avocat, il le sait très bien. Dans le rôle du député, on dit il y a les publications. Le rôle de rendre compte. C'est vous qui donnez l'information aux citoyens, c'est pas l'inverse. Oh, s'il vous plaît, monsieur le maître.
Il dit pas n'importe quoi.
Maître, s'il vous plaît.
Mais vous dites avocat, vous m'indexez. Il y a quel texte qui a dit qu'on doit faire la publication? Vous avez de parler au public anglophone, parle en anglais quand même.
Je suis pas obligé.
Commence par ça.
Mais je suis pas obligé.
Vous pouvez parler en français aux anglophones. C'est ça le problème du Cameroun. Moi je parle français aux francophones. Parle anglais aussi.
Bon, bref.
Parle en anglais. Là je vous comprends. Et vous ne pouvez pas jusqu'à m'indexer. Parce que vous allez parler à l'audience, un public anglophone. Typiquement anglophone. Parle en anglais.
Vous avez fini?
Oui, mais ça c'est... Là, je vous prends au sérieux.
Là, je tiens donc à rappeler à mettre Cameroun est un pays bilingue. Le bilinguisme, on n'a pas dit parler français et anglais, on a dit parler français ou anglais.
Ah bon?
Vous vous exprimez en anglais. Monsieur Maître, si vous me permettez, non, je tiens donc à le dire. Parler français ou anglais. Le jour où Maître voudrait m'obliger à m'exprimer en une langue ou autre langue, vous me posez la question en anglais. Je l'entends, je réponds en français et vice versa. Donc, non, j'arrive d'abord parce que c'est un point important. Il faut donc rappeler à Maître, dans la démocratie, le Cameroun est un pays bilingue, francophone ou anglophone. Je choisis la langue qui me sied le mieux, où j'estime que je peux mieux m'exprimer. Si vous vous exprimez en anglais, je ne vais jamais demander de vous exprimer en français. À moi de faire l'effort de vous entendre et vice versa. Donc, mais je vois quoi dire, vous sommes une dictature. Et voilà encore une preuve, c'est que vous estimez, vous voulez être juge de ma conscience, m'estimer, mais en quoi? Je suis pas obligé.
On parlait sur la thème, sur la question que j'ai posée.
Maintenant, tout à l'heure, il a fait comprendre que, je tiens à dire que dans quel texte, le Cameroun a signé la CADEC. La CADEC, c'est la charte africaine sur la démocratie et consort de l'unité des peuples. Là, nous avons ratifié cela. Et dans la CADEC, il est clairement dit l'obligation de rendre compte.
Du Parlement.
L'obligation de rendre compte des gouvernants et des institutions.
Voilà, vous voyez.
Le Parlement est une institution. Donc, voilà pourquoi est-ce que quand on vote une loi, on l'annonce, on le met au journal officiel. Non, c'est votre question. Donc, permettez-moi donc. Donc, on le met au journal officiel. L'action du député,
ils ont en anglais. Laisse-moi de côté, s'il vous plaît.
Non, c'est important parce qu'il a fait une
Alex, there's no much time.
Non, oui, je vais donc dire à Maître que les députés ont des sièges, ils ont des endroits. C'est à eux d'inviter la population, c'est à eux de mettre sur le roll-off de leur siège leur action. C'est pas l'inverse. Il faudrait qu'on laisse
pas dans le siège.
Il faudrait pas qu'on.
Vous n'avez même pas compris ce que j'ai dit.
Non, c'est à eux de le faire. Le citoyen n'est pas obligé d'aller là-bas.
Vous voyez.
De un, il est obligé. Parce que vos actions doivent être sues de tous, sans qui se rendent. Parce que vous êtes député de la nation. Les actions que vous prenez, n'impacte pas seulement votre localité. Si par exemple vous êtes député, vous êtes à Douala, et que je vis par exemple...
Est-ce que tu veux
non, où je vis par exemple à Gandéré, au nord, est-ce que ce pays devient cela pour voir vos activités? Je ne pense pas. Donc je tiens à dire que le député a obligation de rendre compte par tous les voies et moyens nécessaires. C'est quelque chose.
Okay, thank you. I think there's no much time. I was asking if your party has, is carrying out political education to tell the people that, okay, we did not go for this election because now this is how the body function, a legislative house function, a legislative house does this, does that, such that when you vote us, this is how you can, this is how you can hold us accountable if we fail. I was asking you to carry out political education.
Oui, mais je suis dans ce débat, je vous ai donné le rôle de l'Assemblée nationale. C'est pas
no, you have given
c'est le rôle que je suis. Permettez-moi donc. Je parle au nom de qui? Au nom du parti, n'est-ce pas? Quand je donne le rôle du gouvernement, le rôle du Parlement, je ne suis pas en train d'éduquer ce rôle. Vous voulez qu'on vous dise comment?
Donc la question que je me posais, est-ce que
nous le faisons? Je vous dis ceci, nous le faisons. La sensibilisation, nous le faisons.
Oui.
Et elle peut être de plusieurs formes. Vous pouvez le faire au porte par à porte, vous pouvez le faire par les masses médiatiques.
Voilà.
Nous le faisons. Donc ça ne se pose pas. Donc c'est une question même qui n'a pas lieu d'être à mon sens.
Okay.
Donc nous le faisons. Et je tiens donc à réitérer, et donc je vous dis, le rôle du législateur. Le législateur réellement c'est le peuple camerounais. Comme le collégique, c'est le peuple camerounais qui vote les lois. Mais je le dis et je vais me répéter, le peuple a conféré a donné cette fonction-là, a mandaté des personnes, des élus, qui sont les députés et les sénateurs, de jouer ce rôle. Maintenant, lorsqu'ils votent des lois, ils doivent se rassurer que ces lois-là obéissent aux intérêts généraux. Il ne faudrait pas que les lois qu'ils mettent sur pied soient des lois qui favorisent un gouvernement, parce que le gouvernement ne donne pas l'intérêt des populations.
Okay.
Le gouvernement donne l'intérêt du parti politique, d'abord, avant l'intérêt des populations. Par contre, l'État, dont ces lois sont supposées être appliquées, c'est plus l'intérêt des populations à ce moment-là.
When I asked a question to Alex, my question was, and the same question I'm going to ask to Senior Barrister, the question was and is, political parties, do you see them engage their, supporters and voters in political education, especially in explaining them the functionality of the different organs of the state? Like, okay, parliamentarian, this is what the legislature looks like, and the legislature, these are the responsibilities, this is how you hold them accountable. Do they involve in political education? Or the function, they only come during election to say, hey, this is it, this is that? Because political education is a key.
I will take myself as an example. I have never received any political education from a political party that explains the role of a parliamentarian or a senator that is voted. What we witness during campaigns is just promises of lofty projects and all that. And it is this kind of a communication that captivates the mind, putting people in an expectation of some utopia where it never arrives. So they exploit the people, and I believe the political parties are very comfortable in the position where the people are actually ignorant of what they are supposed to deliver in terms of politics and the legislation. So it would be very difficult if a Cameroonian tells you that now, we're in the village and we understood that our parliamentarian, though he has a micro grants project, his main role is to go to parliament and then make laws that will make life livable. It will be very difficult to see that, but they will always like to play to the emotions of the people, like we see today in the world, the rise of populism. And I strongly believe that the CRM party is exploiting that, using the emotions of the people to rally them. But what they fail to do is to make the people understand that in order for them to access it to that political office, they need to go through elections. Like for instance, Cameroonians today, most of them are not registered in the electoral list. But what are the parties doing to make sure that they are registered such that when voting time arrives, they should vote for them? I've not seen any party engaged in advocating that Cameroonians should have ID cards, because it is one of the tools that is needed for them to be registered in the electoral register.
Okay.
But everywhere we see Cameroonians crying, we don't have ID cards. Tomorrow you will come out, Cameroonians go and vote. When did they register?
It's the same thing, because we have not seen political parties advocating for the issue of accessibility of ID cards.
No, that's true.
That
no. Do it all the time.
Non, mais on le fait chaque fois.
All the time.
Nous le faisons.
No, when we talk about seeing, we are talking
Nous
about like that kind of boss action, mass sensitization.
Monsieur Javis.
Come on, until now I have a problem getting an ID card.
Monsieur Javis.
I keep extending and extending.
Monsieur Javis, lorsque nous demandons la licence électorale, lorsque nous accompagnons les CAM, la première chose qu'il faut avoir, c'est sa carte d'identité.
Okay.
Donc, on le dit déjà, alors que les partis politiques sont partenaires de l'ECAM pour l'inscription, je crois que c'est
Nous le faisons.
Et même le RDPC, sans prendre la défense, je pense qu'ils le font. Même si n'ont pas intérêt à le faire.
His message is that you should get
people registered, work hand
on the
with
electoral code.
You should get your party adherence to register such that you have. You see what PCR did with Cabral Libi with his 11 million registered voters. Today he's come both of parliamentarians due to that effort.
For one division.
But why don't we get back to Dr. Nguepi and get his last reaction, because we are almost out of time.
Conclusion, when the mindset of the country is going to change from a democratic alignment, we will be moving towards having the kind of leadership that Africa needs. Africa is not right for democracy because of poverty. We have a poor mindset, so democracy doesn't work. Democracy doesn't work in the midst of poverty and suffering. So what works is we are going to have a leadership that is enlightened, that is benevolent, and that's despotic. That is, it means, when leadership knows the problems to be solved and has the answers to those problems that have to be solved, and when that leadership is open-minded, providing solutions to people, irrespective of color and creed or religion, providing opportunities to friends and foes. That's what benevolence is all about. And despotic means that you make up your mind about what is good and you get it done, either by hook or by crook. When we get to that point, and then we fight corruption effectively, then, like I said, this new breed of parliamentarians will be able to help the government and the whole community to correct the politics, to correct the economics, to correct the development, to correct the education, and the country will surge forward. There will be peace in this nation when all these structures are corrected.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nick Nguepi. Dr. Nick Nguepi said Africa is not ready for democracy. Do you believe in that, Senior Barrister?
Yes, I agree partly with him in the sense that the problem of democracy has a link with our culture, and it is difficult to assimilate the white man's culture of democracy into Africa. I don't believe it is poverty which is the problem, because in Rome, where this thing when democracy started with the plebeians and so on, commoners and so on, the Romans were poorer than Africans. So it is not a matter of poverty, but it's a matter of a culture. I don't understand how a Cameroonian would virtually kneel down for a chief in a village, but the next day insulted the head of state. So you see, it is a cultural issue. So I believe in the fact that we need to have benevolent despots for things to work in Africa, not democratic, whether Western democratic system in place. That one, it doesn't work here. It's like taking a square peg to put in a round hole.
Or forcing a balloon underwater.
Of course, force a balloon underwater. Meanwhile, it cannot work that way. Our culture and our mindset doesn't permit us to accept that the Western style of democracy. We are all needs to have a leader who is powerful and who loves his nation, like President Paul Biya. And you see, it's a truth that Jacques Chirac said democracy in Africa it cannot work here because of our system, which is very true. And that's why you notice that wherever you have a benevolent despot, things are moving smoothly. And President Biya, the way I see him, he's not a despot. And that's why there's so much laxity around and nobody's there to hold him firm hands. He decides that you want democracy, take it. But you see, it was supposed to bring in the issue of manhandling certain issues. For example, banning MRC if it goes into alliance with Amazonia. You see, those are the type of things you want to see. Or better still, you see someone who's not doing his job properly, you take him there and there, you relieve him of his duties.
But
that's what a despot does.
But there are no evidence to show that MRC is in alliance with Amazonia
No,
from
come
the
on,
party.
the match in France.
Those could be individual efforts.
Once you have the flag, you need
it's like you seeing a
need to go to school?
in the US
Do we need to go
and
to
saying
school?
that he's doing this.
Do we need to go to school to know that if there's a Camto flag and MRC flag matching together, what does that mean? Is that an alliance? Do you want to go to school to understand that? Do you need to be intellectual? That's where the problem is. And you understand that, you see, they were taking democracy, like, of freedom of expression, like anything. For example, I remember in the early days when we used to talk about these issues on TV, the guys of MRC they were taking me for enemies. You know, it's difference of opinion. You have your view, I have mine.
Can disagree to agree.
We can disagree. We have to disagree all the time. But I know you're a Cameroonian. I'm a Cameroonian.
Okay.
After this is when I started. I said after our debates, we started discussing. When they saw me smiling and talking with them afterwards, that they felt that, hey, this thing is something else. And you know, this thing has developed into. We will not understand that we have a right to different opinions, to different ways of looking at things, but we are not enemies. We are Cameroonians and we're supposed to be friends. If I even saw your party or whatever, it is politics.
Okay.
C'est de se contredire. Tout à l'heure, docteur nous fait comprendre que la démocratie c'est le respect de l'opinion de l'autre. Mais il a voulu qu'il m'exprime en anglais forcément. Assez respectement l'opinion m'exprime en français. Il ne l'a pas fait. Vous voyez que nous sommes en dictature. Il vous dit respect l'opinion de l'autre. Mais l'autre s'exprime en français. Vous dites non, elle parle qu'en anglais. C'est une dictature. Non, s'il vous plaît, permettez-moi. Je vous montre vos incongruités. Je vous demande vos incongruités pour la démocratie. La démocratie n'est pas une dictature. Je suis d'accord, c'est pas une dictature. Parce qu'il faudrait qu'on se le dise.
C'est la dictature de la majorité.
Je vous dis, la dictocratie ne doit être, parce qu'on dit que c'est la gouvernance du peuple à l'instant des minorités. Hein? Je tiens donc à dire que si on va dans son sens, c'est la dictature de la majorité. Alors pourquoi est-ce que lors de la mairie centrale, lors des régions, on impose que le président des conseils régionaux soit de la minorité, ou soit des autochtones, alors la majorité peut être ailleurs. Vous comprenez donc que même dans ce que vous dites, vous vous contredisez avec...
C'est la majorité qui a décidé ainsi.
S'il vous plaît, je vous ai dit, vous vous contredisez même avec les propres tests que vous mettez sur pied. Et je tiens également à faire comprendre à Maître, c'est que il dit que le MRC, drapeau et consort. Donc si on va dans ce sens-là, le fait que les gens abordent les drapeaux, les hauts du t-shirt du MRC, font défiler, les ambassadeurs sont à côté, oui, je vais dans ce sens-là. Le fait aussi que les patriotes qui sont du LDPC, qui soutiennent Paul Biya, s'en vont à la résidence d'un citoyen camerounais, commencent à tribaliser, commencent à menacer toutes les communautés dont le LDPC était basé tribaliste. Non, je dis dans ce cas-là, on va dans votre logique. C'est-à-dire que les gens défilent. S'il vous plaît, permettez-moi, que les gens défilent, il y a des drapeaux ambazoniens à côté, il y a ceci sur le MRC, sur le MRC avec les ambazoniens. Si on vous le concède, on va aussi vous concéder que l'autorité d'État qui se veut Cameroun sur le LDPC, puisque ceux qui défendent M. Biya sont ceux-là qui s'affichent avec son portrait, qui sont en train d'indexer les communautés. Donc on va aussi dire que le LDPC, non, mais il y a les patriotes, il y a les Ahmed Kamel, ils sont pleins, qui sont là et qui soutiennent les institutions, mais qui ont des discours purement tribalistes. Donc aussi vous concédez que le tribalisme dont nous dénonçons, dont la loi Cameroun punit, est le fait du LDPC. Dans votre raisonnement, non, je vous dis, dans votre raisonnement, maître, dans votre raisonnement, je suis que je suis logique à votre raisonnement. Donc, maître, héritier dans le peuple camerounais, la démocratie c'est un patrimoine mondial. Il n'y a pas de démocratie camerounaise à l'africaine, c'est un patrimoine culturel mondial. Maintenant, je comprends que les gens veulent parler de nos cultures, qu'on devait parler de nos identités culturelles et le confort à la démocratie. Non. C'est un patron, c'est un savoir-faire mondial. C'est pas un savoir-faire propre à un État, propre à un pays.
Are you saying that it is logical? It's okay to kneel beside the chief and to insult the head.
Je vous dis, on parle donc
selective
permettez-moi non, ce n'est pas ça.
Justice.
Permettez-moi s'il vous plaît. Dans une entité culturelle, hein, les chefs font partie, représentent nos cultures dans une bonne mesure, mais en démocratie, le président de la République incarne l'autorité de l'État et il gouverne avec toute une nation. Donc, ce côté-là, on ne peut pas venir dire, attendez, est-ce qu'un chef donne un emploi à un individu? Non. Si un Camerounais est en chômage, n'a pas d'emploi, il se plaint de qui? Il accuse qui? Il accuse son président. Donc c'est normal qu'un citoyen, en un pays démocratique, qu'un citoyen qui n'a pas d'emploi, qui n'a pas X ou Y, puisse s'en prendre à son président. Donc on soit clair. Donc ce que vous dites, vous êtes en train de faire dans la statut le coup de la personnalité et c'est déplorable. C'est pas le rôle.
Before we go, your last word.
I just don't believe in this issue called democracy. It is not democracy. To me, is just disorder. Because when we look at constitutional authority, we say that you convince the people of your project and they give you their vote. They are obliged to follow your decisions because they have already expressed their faith in you. But with democracy is that tomorrow we don't like you again. The majority is not always right.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming. Dear last word before we go.
Yes, I would like to say that one thing I agree with the barrister to say that really we don't need democracy for now. The kind of democracy we have now is bringing us some kind of total confusion. We have some kind of majority, constipated majority that make us. So I want to say something to apply to Cameroon, Javis. For us to have democracy in Cameroon, true democracy in Cameroon now, I will advise everybody to join the ruling party. If all the Cameroonians enter into the ruling party, we have one party, we are going to have a true democracy. Because
in 1960,
there is total confusion. There's total confusion in the opposition camp. Really, there were opposition parties yesterday. For example, I can call UPC and SDF. They found what they have done. I don't think any other political opposition party has done yet. But today, there's total confusion in the opposition camp. So the solution to me is if all the Cameroonians join the ruling party, and then we have only one party, I believe that democracy can.
So you are saying that we should go back to the 1966 Draconian law, if we decide we had a unity system of one party CNU.
If the Cameroonians decide we can do it. China and America, they are not having the number of political parties we have in Cameroon. And more to that, the opposition have refused to accept the fact that their number is disturbing, is giving powers to the ruling party to stay in power.
Thank you very much, Senior Barrister, for coming.
Thank you very much, Javis. Thanks. I want to thank the co-panelists for this nice debate, and that this is how we're supposed to talk as Cameroonians and respect each other.
Thank you very much, Alex Nguepi. Merci d'être venu.
Oui, merci. Et juste dire aux Camerounais d'être réveillés, de ne pas suivre ce discours fallacieux qu'on vous donne. La démocratie est la seule voie est réelle pour un développement économique, social, politique, pour le bien-être des populations. On ne peut pas dire qu'on a besoin de dictateurs. Parce que les dictateurs ne jouent que leurs intérêts. Mais en démocratie, vous choisissez qui vous voulez. Et demain, quand ils ne respectent pas le contrat social qui est établi entre vous et le peuple camerounais, vous le retirez ou faites quelqu'un d'autre. La seule voie, la seule issue pour la population africaine, c'est la démocratie.
Of course, Mr. Ignatius, it's been a privilege to have you.
Yes, thank you very much. Good afternoon once more to co-panelists. We know that Cameroon is our country. Let us join together, no matter our differences, and build a country so that we enjoy.
You said earlier in the beginning that if it's bad, we all feel it, and if it's good, we all feel it.
We enjoy.
Okay, Mr. Mayor Ernest, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Javis. We want to appreciate our co-panelists for this fruitful exchange and with the level of respect we show to each other. That is the norm that is supposed to rule Cameroon today.
Thank you very much. All those of you who took our time to watch this program. If you have difficulties to watch My Media Prime, scan your decoder and get your cable distributors. You have My Media Prime. Our YouTube channel is BT Media Group YouTube channel. Our Facebook page is My Media Prime. Our Twitter handle is My Media Media Prime. This program comes to you every Sunday 12 to 1:30, rebroadcast Monday at exactly 9:30, rebroadcast again on Sunday at 10:30. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matter is your matter. No matter the matter, what matter is your matter. And what should matter for you is that no one hands are tied when it comes to do the right things. It only become tight when they want to do selfish things. My name is Tah Mai Javis from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Feng Jong Mbange.